You ever watch a pro athlete and just shake your head? Like, how in the world do they do that? That sudden sidestep, that jump that seems to defy gravity, that split-second change of direction that leaves everyone else standing still? Well, today we're pulling back the curtain and looking at the science behind those incredible moments.
I mean, really think about it for a second. That last-second juke in a football game, the explosive leap for a slam dunk, a skier just carving up a mountain like it's nothing. What's the one thing that connects all these incredible displays of athletic skill? Well, here's the secret. It's not just about being the strongest person on the field or having the stamina to run for days. The real game changer is something called skill-related fitness. This is where physical potential gets turned into pure game-winning performance. It's where the magic really happens.
So in this explainer, we're going to unlock two really powerful training methods that are designed to build exactly that. We're going to start with the one that's all about being elusive, being in control, and being utterly unpredictable.
And that brings us to agility. Now, this isn't just about being fast in a straight line. No. Agility is about being able to stop on a dime, pivot, and then explode in a totally new direction, leaving your opponents wondering what just happened. So the big question is, how do you actually train for that?
Well, the answer is a training method called SAQ. You can think of it like the blueprint, the code, for mastering the art of movement and just becoming incredibly hard to pin down.
SAQ. It stands for speed, agility, and quickness. And honestly, the training does exactly what it says on the tin. It's all about using a mix of short sprints and constant changes of direction to get your body dialed in on accelerating, slamming on the brakes, and switching it up on a moment's notice. And what's so cool about it is how simple the tools are for such advanced training. I mean, you see it here. We're talking about cones, agility ladders, little mini hurdles. Each one of these drills is designed to copy the chaotic, totally unpredictable movements you see in a real game. It trains your body and your brain to just react instantly. So who's this for? Well, basically any athlete who needs to dodge another person. Think about football players, rugby players, hockey players. It's also absolutely critical for sports like freestyle skiing, where you're constantly making tiny adjustments. And of course for gymnasts, who need that absolute total control over their body. But, it's not a magic bullet for every situation. On the plus side, the equipment's cheap, you can tailor the drills to pretty much any sport, and it works for all ages. But it does take a minute to set up all those cones and ladders, and here's the big one. You need a good level of fitness to start with, because once you get tired, your form gets sloppy, and that's a recipe for injury. A thorough warm-up isn't just a good idea here, it's absolutely essential. Okay, so that covers agility. But what about that raw, explosive power, that jump out of the gym kind of strength? For that, we need to turn to a totally different and way more intense method: plyometrics. This is all about unleashing your explosive strength. Before we jump into the how, let's get really clear on the what. Power is not the same as strength, not at all. Power is the ability to use your strength fast. It's that beautiful combination of speed and strength that gives you those explosive moves, like a sprinter bursting out of the blocks, or a volleyball player just hammering the ball over the net. I love this analogy because it perfectly explains the core idea behind plyometrics. It's all about elastic energy. You stretch the muscle quickly, you load it up with potential energy, and then, boom, you release it in a much, much more powerful movement. Now, the science behind that elastic band is called the stretch-shortening cycle. It works like this. First, there's a super fast eccentric action. That's when the muscle lengthens while it's tense. Then, it's followed immediately by a powerful concentric action, where the muscle shortens. The absolute key here is making that switch from stretching to shortening as fast as humanly possible. Any delay, and all that amazing stored energy just disappears as heat. So a faster switch equals way more power. So let's break that cycle down into 3 quick phases. First, you've got the eccentric phase. That's the pre-stretch, the loading of the muscle, like when you dip down before a big jump. Second, and this is the most critical part, is the amortization phase. That's the tiny, tiny pause between stretching and shortening. You want that to be almost zero. And third, you have the concentric phase, the explosive movement where you release all that stored energy. And a classic box jump is the perfect way to see this in action. That dip down before you jump, that's the eccentric loading. That split second at the bottom where you change direction, that's the amortization phase. And the explosive jump up onto the box, that's your powerful concentric phase. It's pure power, demonstrated perfectly. So who's doing this kind of training? Well, pretty much any athlete who needs to jump high, sprint fast, or just create a burst of power. We're talking sprinters, high jumpers, long jumpers, volleyball players, basketball players, and yep, gymnasts again, who need that explosive pop for their vaults and tumbling runs.
Now, we have to be really clear here. Plyometrics can give you incredible results, but the risks are just as high. The good news? You can adapt them for specific muscles, and often all you need is a box or even just your own body weight. But the disadvantages are serious. This is high-impact, high-stress training, and the risk of injury is way higher. It is absolutely not for beginners or younger athletes, and having perfect technique isn't just a goal, it's a requirement.
All right, so we've looked at SAQ for building agility, and we've covered plyometrics for building power. Now, let's put them head-to-head so you can see exactly which tool is the right one for the job. So here's the breakdown. If your goal is to be elusive, to change direction on a whim, SAQ is your go-to. The main thing you have to watch out for is fatigue messing up your form. But if your goal is just raw, explosive power, then you're looking at plyometrics, where your #1 priority has to be managing that high impact to avoid injury. Two different tools for two very different but equally important athletic skills. And this brings us to the single most important point of this whole explainer. Whether we're talking about SAQ or plyometrics, these are advanced training methods. They are not for beginners. They're meant to be built on top of a solid foundation of fitness. Without that base and without an absolute commitment to proper warm-ups and perfect form, you're not building performance, you're just asking for an injury. So there you have it. We've unpacked the science of agility and power. You now know how the pros build those skills that win championships. The only question left is, how are you going to use this knowledge to tackle your own goals? What's your next move?